Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Cucchiara, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Cucchiara.
Welcome in, Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that are following us. Continue to follow us on Facebook, the live feed. We appreciate that very much. Most of you know that we are a podcast, however, so we'd love to have you download the podcast. It's great to have those follow us on Facebook. We're going to try to continue to get the show exposed in any different ways that we can, obviously. And we got a lot of good feedback, comments as well. But to download the podcast, the thing to do, you can go literally anywhere where you could find the podcast and find Real Estate Radio Live. And that's iTunes, Stitcher, Google+. Just go online. Anywhere where you could find podcasts, you could find Real Estate Radio Live. Just type that in and download the podcast. That way you could follow us anytime, anywhere, and listen to it at your convenience. Most of you know that usually if it's Wednesdays, it's Mike 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗪 and I, the two Italian guys talking real estate. So We're back at it. Good to have you back, Mike.
Good to be back in the saddle.
We are kicking off 2019 in a good way. A lot of exciting things to talk about, and we have some great things happening in 2019. We're going to take those piece by piece. And again, anyone needing to reach us during the week, 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗓 is the website to go to. And, of course, Mike's on there as well, so you could reach him. And, Mike, what's the other way they could contact you?
𝗥𝗲𝗋𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧.com.
Okay.
𝗥𝗲𝗋𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗢𝗃.com.
Got it. All right.
I'm looking over this. What is this?
You see that?
This timeline thing you got in here. This is pretty cool.
This is another creation of one of Jack's clients. They did kind of the evolution of the technology waves when they come and go. So it's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I almost want to hop off the podcast and just read it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
No, it's neat about the different aspects of technology that come into the market, the impact that they have on the market, and then when the next wave's going to hit, which it looks like, actually we're
right
there.
In
the middle of it, aren't
2020.
we? Look at that.
The world's going to come to it. To an end.
Grab your surfboards. All right. So today we're going to go, of course, into real estate, but most of you know if you've been following the market right towards the end of 2018, it's back to a normal market, and normal's good. Normal's really good, and most people would argue there was certainly, you could say that there's one group, Mike, that loved absolutely the crazy sellers market, and one would automatically think, oh yeah, the sellers loved it. That's true to a certain extent, right? They loved the fact that they were getting paid so much of a premium.
Right.
But let's keep in mind, 75% of people who sell their home go buy another home. Mm-hmm. So those same people, after their excitement wore off, they're like, now I got to get back into that market.
Check back into reality. I think unless they were moving to an area that doesn't, really have what we have going on here. But at the time when the market was going really crazy, I mean, there was a lot of other markets in the country that were going crazy as well. I just read something this morning, though, that San Jose is projected to be one of the hottest markets in the country this year. And then Seattle wasn't even in the top 10, which was like a year ago. It was different, and a lot of people were moving to Seattle from here or wherever up north in the Northwest. So it's interesting. So
the answer, the question, the topic, the suggestion that I would make, in all seriousness, it's going to sound funny, but get your hands on as much real estate as you can in the Silicon Valley, in the Bay Area. Actually, get it on anywhere if you plan to hold it for a while, because it's a good investment. And there are other good investments too, but the point here is none of us have this crystal ball or really know, but if you understand what's happening here in Silicon Valley, some people might be nervous saying, well, I'm sold out, I can't afford it. Other people might be saying, well, I'm not sure, maybe it's maxed out. Mm-hmm. But, I'm a believer that when you look at what's on the map, and when I say on the map, Mike talked about it a moment ago, when you look at the developments going to take place in downtown San Jose and the surrounding areas, and now I just saw also they voted, it looks like, which I'm not sure if it'll pass or not, but now back on the ballot, I think it looks like, did you see the Coyote Valley area? Is that what I'm talking? Remember the area that Cisco was going to develop and then that was put on hold? Remember, well, not maybe Coyote Valley, but what's that area right outside of on 101 there.
Evergreen, Silver Creek area?
I don't know. I thought it was the. Anyway, we'll get that and report it to you tomorrow, or the next day. But the point is, it's like 7,500 acres or something that the mayor of San Jose says, no, we want to keep it a preserve. But everybody else says, no, we need more housing. We need another community. We need to build.
Yeah.
So the point I'm getting at is, it's busy. It's expensive. There's a lot of stuff going on. But there's still a lot of interest here in Silicon Valley. So because of that, what Mike and I are going to try to do, not only today, but on an ongoing basis, really the value we hope that we provide you, the listener, on both whether you're, in this market as a consumer or maybe you're in this market like we are, maybe you're a real estate agent or loan officer, someone that works in this, is that to provide you with strategies, tools, ideas, and maybe some statistics and data to help you better succeed if you are buying or selling your property. And that's really the main objective here. So today... Yeah,
and I think just to add to that, I think from an investment standpoint, if you look at real estate values over the past 5 or 6 decades, it's on average appreciated 3% a year.
Yeah,
is the number. So we've had ups and downs. We definitely had some downs in 2008 and all that. But if you average it out over a 50 to 60 year time period, it's an average of a 3% investment. There's not many other investments, if any, that could probably say that.
Yeah, you've heard this before. And I'm about ready to say it, and someone's going to be listening to the podcast just going, Joe, just give me come on, enough. But it's true. Think about the appreciating asset, the value of the appreciating asset, and not your down payment or the money invested. Example, take $200,000 and go buy $200,000 worth of Apple stock, Cisco stock, I don't care what it is. What do you end up with? You end up with $200,000 at the day you bought it. Depending on if that market changed or not, you end up with $200,000 worth of that stock, right? Right. Okay.
Right.
If it goes up 5%, it goes up 5% based on your $200,000 investment, right? It goes down 10%, you get it. Everybody gets that. Take that same $200,000 and go finance the rest and get a $1 million property. Now, you do have a liability, but there is tax benefits. Here's my point, though, and Mike knows this better than anybody. You just invested in a $1 million appreciating asset. So now if that goes up 3%, like Mike said, a year, or 5%, or even if it fluctuates at the end of 5 years, it's up 12 or 13%, it's 13% of $1 million, not 13% of 200,000.
No,
right? I mean,
there's not much more I can add to that.
Right.
It's pretty clear. It's pretty cut and dry.
I like to use that because it's simple, it's easy to understand.
Yeah. I might use that too. Might use that.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about conditions of the market, Mike. You're going to give us some examples. You had an interesting showing this weekend.
Yeah.
You had a lot of activity. So I guess maybe give us a quick kind of update on the market, and then we'll talk more strategically about what you're seeing and maybe how some of these offers are going.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the inventory level is about 1,200 active for sale properties right now. That includes single-family condos, townhouses, about 800 of those being single-family, in all of Santa Clara County, or the heart of Silicon Valley, as we like to call it. It's an upward trend. It was lower at the beginning of the year, and again, every week from here on out, and especially after Super Bowl weekend, which is typically we see a big bump in inventory. And people that have been listening to the show, your show for a long time, or mine back in the day, I always talked about the Super Bowl bump. It's really Super Bowl and tax time are the two big catalysts for inventory. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had over 2,000 units on the market in the next month or so. It'd be my guess, or maybe 2 months. And that's about what we need to be in a quote-unquote normal market. But things are pretty normal for the most part starting off the year. It's not been too crazy. Other than, I'm going to completely contradict what I just said, which is I had an outlier recently, so maybe if I can get into that. Is
it an outlier, or is it just like a Mike D'Ambrosio strategy?
I think it was my awesome strategy, but, I'm going to try to be humble about it. So I had this fixer. It's just dated. It was grandma's house, brown shag carpets, in Santa Clara, 1,500 square feet. The comps in the area, the comparable sales of smaller homes that were dated were going for about $1.1 million, $1.2 million. And so I talked to the seller, and we really tried to talk strategy. I mean, there's really 3 different strategies when it comes to pricing. One is the old school strategy, which is like my dad's strategy, is like, price it a little high so we can leave some room to negotiate over here, whatever. You know what I mean? And that's how he talks.
Yeah.
That really doesn't work that much nowadays. People won't, they won't throw in an offer if it's going to sit. So not a strategy I recommend. Second strategy is, price it basically at what the comps look like. And then the third strategy is price it a little bit under to drive traffic and drive the price back up. And there's different extremes of that. Some people do really extreme. I think I did it tastefully, I guess you could call it. So
what would be tastefully? So like 10 to 12%, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, especially at the price point we were at, we priced it right under $1 million, so $999, and that is a very important threshold in buyers' searches. So we wanted to capture all of the eyeballs under $1 million, and it totally worked.
Okay.
And we wanted to drive the price back up. Now, in a market that we've seen the last 6 to 8 months, it was a risk because sometimes that strategy wasn't working.
Right.
But I felt, based on what the inventory level was at the time, and I thought we were going to get good traffic, and the seller kind of had to be okay with the fact that it might not work. We might just get the $1 million or the $1,050,000 or whatever, and they were, so that's fine. So we ended up having over 150 groups through the first weekend of open houses. This last weekend, it was insane. We had over 50 disclosure packages requested, and just let me explain that on a side note. Typically, prospective buyers will ask for disclosures, seller disclosures, inspections, so they can review all that before potentially making an offer. It's really a good indicator of a pretty interested party rather than just a looky-loo. And typically in the past, like a couple years ago, the ratio of offers you would get on disclosure packages going out was about 40 to 50%.
Okay. Lately,
it's been kind of all over the place. It's hard to predict. And so I thought, based on that, we might get a half dozen offers, or something like that. And really, it only takes one. And I get that we have listeners listening to this all across the country, so they probably think I'm sounding like a jerk, just like saying this all like nonchalant, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting 13 offers.
Wow.
And we're not done yet, but I'm just putting it out there. This is kind of what happened. Again, it kind of contradicted a lot of what's going on in the market as far as it being more normal, but I really think that the pricing strategy was really important with that one.
Yeah,
so food for thought.
It makes sense. So do you think that was unique because of the combination of the pricing in the area, et cetera, or do you think that most real estate agents and clients should really look at a strategy like that, or does it depend on the neighborhood, zip code, et cetera?
I think it was a combination of everything you just said, know, and really this one was in the right neighborhood, backed up to a park. It's a good spot, good layout.
And I think the point is, too, maybe if I'm hearing you right, the fact that your price point was under $1 million, just under, right, could be very different than if someone had a $1.4 million property and put it at 1.39.
Correct.
Right? It's different.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that kind of goes in line with someone at the 1.5 range.
Right.
So if they're going to list it over 1.5, you really got to think about that under 1.5.
Right.
So
yeah. So a good point. So how about, we'll talk a little bit about the market in terms of the Super Bowl and these things. You think that's been talked about for years. So we know there's a good chance, historically speaking, more homes will come on the market. Now, what do you think? And again, it's just a guess, right, to a certain extent. Do you think that's going to excite the market a little bit more and bring out more buyers, or will that potentially, in a market that's more normal, we'd call it right now, will it just be another normal market with more homes on the market?
It's hard to say, but I think we're going to have more buyers just because they know there's a better opportunity this year, whereas last year maybe some of them were curling up into a fetal position and crying themselves to sleep at night, literally. So I think that this year there's more of an opportunity, there's more inventory, and I think it'll bring more people out. And, you always get the traditional new crop of buyers, New Year's resolution buyers, basically, into the market. So I think it's going to be good. It's going to be healthy.
Yeah. So make this your resolution. Typically, you'll see the first of the year, what are the resolutions? Or typically have to do with losing weight, maybe getting a new job, getting in shape, right? Those are kind of the typical ones. There's a reason why the commercials, I always laugh right at the first of the year, right at the end of December. As soon as Christmas is over, literally, we're bombarded by Weight Watchers stuff and diet. And I get it. I understand why.
All that,
So make your resolution this year to go out and get a house.
There you
Buy a
go.
house, sell a house, make a transaction. The rates just came down the last 30 days or so, about 0.5%. A lot of people don't know that.
That's a big chunk.
I'll say recently, too, I did a couple of shows on this, but I'm going to keep talking about it because it's, again, I know we're just coming out of the holiday and a lot of people tuned to people like us out for a while. First of all, I can't believe that would happen. Secondly, I get it because I do too. But my point here, Mike, is that I did a video and then a podcast and some stuff to my database that within a couple of weeks, jumbo financing came down like 0.5%. I mean, we were looking at jumbo financing, right around October-ish, early November. It was just under 5% for jumbo 30-year money. And now, it's down 4.25%, 4 3/8.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big drop.
That is a big drop.
So again, for those jumbo financing, anything around $700,000 or so, it changed a little bit in January. But even if your loan amount's a little less than that, you could potentially benefit by doing that. The point bringing it up is that the interest rates are really good. They're really good right now, and they're better than they were 3 or 4 months ago. So we hope that as more homes enter the market, people take that under consideration. But if you're thinking about that, get pre-approved and make sure you're ready because you're not sure how that market's going to react. You just don't know. What would you tell people to do right now? We'll talk a little bit again about both on the buy and sell side. So if someone's getting ready to list their home and they're kind of saying, okay, here we come, Super Bowl's in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What should they be doing, right now?
Starting to have a conversation now with your preferred real estate agent or get a referral. It's definitely coming up. Super Bowl's less than 2 weeks away. Mm-hmm. We're almost at the end of January. We were just talking about it before we came. I mean, it's all almost here. So start having a conversation. Start figuring out what you have to do to prepare your home to sell and prepare it the right way and come up with a strategy, a timeline, plan. So that would be my first piece of advice. Just
get it ready, get a plan, have something in place.
Yeah.
Do you think that now, Mike, would be, because of the way the market is more of a normal market, let's call it, then are you recommending in many cases that your clients maybe do a little bit more to prepare their house than before? And I'll give you some examples, or what they are, right? Sometimes before, you might walk in a crazy seller's market and go, you know what? I wouldn't do the painting. I wouldn't do the landscaping because you're going to get. So what does that look like now? What would you say now?
I think now more than ever, it's all about presentation and price.
So that makes a difference.
Yeah, definitely. I think you got to do your prep and you got to price right. Those two things, prep and price, PP. Yeah. Make sure you do it.
What are some of the things aesthetically? Let's say everybody's got a budget, right? But some people go crazy, and some people say, what would you say? The basics. If a person said, and I know every situation's different, but if someone said, Mike, what is the very minimum that I should do to get my house ready for the market? In other words, would that be painting? Would that be landscaping? That would be floors? I know it depends. It's a hard question because you don't know.
No, I got the answer. Yeah. It's declutter, depersonalize. Okay. Those are the cheapest things to do.
Okay.
Hands down, do that first.
Makes sense.
And then the top three, I think, reasonable things to do, cheap, I don't want to say cheap, but is paint, flooring, depending on your flooring, and landscape prep. Yeah. And that's the minimum I would do, just depending on the house, but the cheapest thing to do is free, is to get all your crap out of the house. Get all your crap and your personal stuff out,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right, so on the buyers, we hope that we get more buyers out there because they're going to have more inventory to look at. They're going to have more opportunities, hopefully. So on a buyer conversation, how's that conversation going right now?
It's going that there's more to look at. Yeah. So let's look at some stuff and really fine-tune what you want. You don't have to really settle maybe a little bit like you maybe had to about a year ago.
Right.
So let's go look at some stuff. I'm not saying let's look at 500 houses. I'm just saying let's try to, really hone in what you're looking for and then go for it. And there's going to be plenty to look at.
And the move-up buyer, a little bit different than the first time, or let's say someone that doesn't own or currently own a home.
Yeah.
Move-up now could be a little bit different because maybe there is some room to negotiate where before non-contingent, that was kind of the game.
Having those contingencies is, it's now it's possible to get into contract contingent on selling your house. I think one of the trends we're going to see this year is move-up condo townhouse buyers. So people that have maybe been in their condo or townhouse for 5 years or so, that have gained a lot of equity, maybe lost a little bit last year. I think that is going to be a trend this year that we'll see.
So on the buy side.
On the buy side.
Moving up from condos
to single family.
Which is kind of great. That's evolution of great, because a lot of first-time home buyers, the condos work, other than obviously HOAs you have to factor in. But the bottom line is, in many cases, condos are a great place to start.
Absolutely, And I was going to ask you from like the loan perspective with the HOA and all that, educate the audience about how that works with payments and all of that stuff.
Yeah, you just have to factor in. The exciting part is most people will see condos and they'll say, "Oh, great! Condos are priced different, right?" And typically they are, not all of them, but let's just call the starter condo. They're going to be priced, less than a single-family residence. They just are. So just understand that with a condo comes the homeowners association fee, and that fee, if most people don't know it, basically covers all the aspects of that complex. And which gets pretty involved sometimes. But the point is you could have anywhere from another $250 a month to $500, $600, $700 a month. It's hard to believe.
No, I know. Like Santana Row is about that, $600, $700, $800. So do they count they obviously count the payment over the HOA within the mortgage. They count that against their qualification.
Right, so that's part of their qualification.
Do they count, like for every $100 a mortgage, do they count against you like the HOA is the same weight?
It is what it is. So if it's a $300 HOA, it's just going to count towards your debt-to-income ratio. So they include that as part of the payment. So what some people find out is, which is a little interesting dynamic, you got to work with someone. If you're looking at a $500,000 condo and a $500,000 single-family residence, and remember to keep in mind that even the condo is going to have that HOA, which is going to, again, make your payments a little bit higher for a while. But there's some benefits behind that, depending on
less maintenance costs.
Less maintenance.
All that.
A lot of maintenance difference. So some people that have those updates for sure. So as we roll into this will be interesting to see what happens this first quarter and really going into the second quarter. There's a lot of talk about the economy slowing down, and then who knows how long this government shutdown is going to. These are all things that we study every day, and I study every day, and you can't really sit around and worry about it.
Yeah.
But you should kind of understand what it means and what it could mean. And what I mean by that is they're already seeing corporate earnings slow a little bit. And if this government shutdown continues, that's going to affect some aspects of lending and some aspects of jobs. And, keep in mind, I think it's over 1 million plus people it's affected already employed. So these are some people that, maybe were ready to go buy a house or potentially looking for a house, and now they're going to have to put things on hold. There's a lot of factors around that. So I would just say keep those things in mind. And that could be, in your eyes, if you don't work for the government, right? And if it doesn't affect you, if you're listening to this, you could think, well, maybe there's less competition out there. And it depends on the markets, too. There's a lot of different factors. What I would say is that the reason I bring this up is as we roll into this time period in the first quarter and go into the second quarter, the rates look like they're going to stay pretty good, Mike. And I would say, again, another reason why it's a really, in a market like this, you can't, in my opinion, if you've owned this property for a while and you're on the sell side, hard to say you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're on the buy side, especially if you're the first time and or you don't have another property to sell, it's a really good time to buy because the markets took kind of a breather and interest rates are still good.
And they're good and there's choice, and so it's kind of it's the best of both worlds. And on the what did I hear the other day? No one ever looks stupid making a profit, right?
That's true.
So from a seller's perspective, maybe it's not going to be what it was a year ago. From not every transaction is going to be like the one I spoke about earlier. That was again that was kind of an outlier, but you've gained a lot of equity over the last 5-6 years. So no one's feeling sorry for you right now,
right?
As a seller,
no one.
So
no one's feeling sorry for you. So before we have a couple more minutes. And what I want to do is just add, I'm going to have the next couple of days, I'm going to have a show that is going to go into more detail. But as we're talking about financing options in a market where we think it's going to be a little bit stronger and hopefully perk up a little bit here in the next couple of months, there's another program, and you always have to look at different options for financing. You've heard me talk before about, untraditional financing, which I'm a big fan of because a lot of people aren't educated on it. I've talked a lot about this cross-collateral program. I can't tell you how many people I helped. Another one went into contract yesterday. Same thing. They're buying a house without selling their home. How do you do that? A lot of people say, well, it can be done in many cases. So if you're interested, call me about that and we could talk more about it. There's another program that's recently come out, and what it is basically is, well, I should say it's an additional 10% investment strategy. So perfect way to really explain this would be just in simple terms. If you're out looking for $1 million home and you have 10%, we could get you another 10% and make that a 20% down without including a payment or a liability, so it helps you easily qualify for that $1 million home. Even better, let's say because you only have 10%, you're going to all these traditional lenders and they're telling you, I'm sorry, the max you could purchase because you got 10% down is $1 million. What if we could show you how to get that additional 10% and go up to $1 million, 1.1 or 1.2? This is a real program, and I'm going to have more about it over the next couple of weeks. We're going to have some people on and we're going to talk about it. So the reason I want to get this message out right before we end the show today is Mike and I are talking about market. It's a teaser. That's right. You're going to have to hang on.
That's Radio 101, baby.
You're going to have to hang on, or even better, call Mike or I and say, what's Joe talking about? Is he is his head straight, or what's going on?
I ask myself that question every day, Joe.
You notice there's nothing in front of me. I'm not drinking anything. But anyway, no, it's a great program, and we're going to have more and more information about it. In the meantime, as always, if there's anything we could help you with, and it doesn't matter, I'll say this, we're here to educate and inform, and Mike and I, our goal is to really help you become a more wise, consumer when it comes to real estate, buying, selling, financing, whatever it is. So even if you're working with someone else, give us a call if you have some questions. Maybe you want to bounce some ideas off us. If you aren't, or maybe you're questioning the person you're working with, whether it be a lender or a real estate agent, give us a call. Because what we're going to do is we're going to ask you questions. We're going to find out what your goals, your objectives are, and we're going to help you in any way we can. That's the point.
Absolutely.
So,
good stuff.
Before we get out, again, remind everybody where they could reach you if they have any information or if they have some questions for you.
Yeah, no, you can go to my website, that's my email, mike@𝗥𝗲𝗎𝗪𝗏.com, or website, mikedsales.com.
Very good.
All right.
And as usual, if you want any more information, 𝗟𝗓radiolive.com. That's 𝗟𝗓radiolive.com. If you need to reach me during the week, 408-838-9060. Thanks again for tuning in today. Have a great afternoon. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit 𝗟𝗓radiolive.com. That's 𝗟𝗓radiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at 𝗟𝗓radiolive.com.